Buck Harrison was a legend. At least that's what his 2 million Instagram followers believed. The self-proclaimed King of Texas BBQ. He'd built an empire on slow-smoked brisket and an attitude that American BBQ was the only one that mattered. His YouTube channel had 3 million subscribers. His restaurant in Austin was always packed. He'd won every major BBQ competition in Texas for 5 years. Buck dominated. He conquered. He let everyone know it. But lately, Buck was bored. He'd beaten everyone. He needed something to prove wrong. That's when he saw Maria Santos's comment. "Buck, come to Philippines and try real Lechon. Then we can talk about whose barbecue is superior." The comment got thousands of likes. Buck laughed. He responded on Instagram Live, "Lechon? That's just a roasted pig. I've smoked meats for 20 years. Lechon is peasant food, but sure, I'll go prove you wrong." The post went viral. 50,000 shares in hours. Filipinos fired up. Americans backing Buck. The internet loved a food fight. Maria didn't back down. "Come to Cebu. Try the best Lechon. If Texas BBQ is better, I'll admit defeat. But if Lechon wins, you have to post about it." Buck saw the opportunity. Perfect content. He'd go to Philippines, try their best dish, prove it was inferior, make viral videos. His followers would love it. 2 weeks later, Buck was on a plane to Manila with his full camera crew. He had absolute certainty. He was about to teach a country about real barbecue. When he landed in Manila, the tropical humidity, crowded streets, and unfamiliar energy felt like confirmation. This wasn't Texas. Their food couldn't possibly compare. Maria met him at his hotel with a knowing smile. "I've arranged the best Lechon, from a family that's perfected the craft for 4 generations. You ready to have your mind changed?" she asked. Buck laughed. "My mind doesn't change. My palate is educated. After today, you'll understand why Texas BBQ is the gold standard." Maria smiled and said nothing. That smile bothered Buck more than he wanted to admit. The next morning, they drove to Cebu. Buck brought his camera crew, ready to capture his victory. He'd film himself tasting Lechon, explaining why it was overrated, destroy Maria's credibility, and grow his legend even bigger. They pulled up to a small Lechon stand. An elderly Filipino man named Mr. Roberto stood there with weathered hands, a warm smile, and a simple apron. A whole pig rotated slowly over a wood fire. No fancy restaurant, no expensive presentation, just a humble stall. Buck's camera was already rolling. "Here we are," he announced with a smirk. "The famous Lechon of Cebu. Let's see if it lives up to the hype. Spoiler alert, it won't." Mr. Roberto didn't understand English, but he understood the tone. He watched Buck with patient eyes as he carefully carved perfectly crispy skin from the pig. The skin crackled with each cut. The aroma was incredible. The meat underneath was glistening, tender, perfectly rendered. Mr. Roberto placed it on a banana leaf with liver sauce, vinegar, and salt. He handed it to Buck with respect and quiet pride. Buck looked at the camera, ready to deliver his dismissal. He raised the meat to his lips and took a confident bite. What happened in the next 5 seconds would change everything. Buck chewed slowly. His confident smirk faded. The first thing he noticed was the texture. The skin was impossibly crispy but not dry. It shattered between his teeth with satisfying crackle. Beneath it, fat had rendered perfectly, adding richness without grease. The meat was tender, almost falling apart, with subtle smokiness suggesting slow cooking over real fire. Buck's jaw stopped. His eyes widened. This wasn't peasant food. This was complex. This was sophisticated. This was a completely different approach to cooking meat than anything he'd mastered in Texas. He looked at the camera, still rolling, his followers watching. He tried to recover his arrogance, but his face wouldn't cooperate. "It's crispy," he said awkwardly, buying time to process what his palate experienced. Mr. Roberto watched with patient, knowing eyes. Maria smiled nearby. Buck took another bite. This time he noticed the liver sauce, complex flavors cutting through the meat's richness perfectly. The vinegar added brightness. The salt brought out unexpected nuances. His mind raced. He'd done slow-smoked barbecue for 20 years. He understood low and slow, smoke rings, bark. But this was something else. This was skin mastery. This was fat management. This was technique developed over centuries, refined over generations. Buck realized he was silent. His camera crew filmed his silence. His followers watched his silence. He had nothing dismissive to say. "This is really good," he finally managed. "Really good?" Those words felt hollow. This was more than really good. But admitting that felt like admitting defeat. Mr. Roberto then brought out different preparations, different regions of the pig, different Lechon styles from different provinces. Each showed different mastery. Crispy skin with tender meat, soft skin with perfectly rendered fat, sweet variations, savory variations. Each province perfected Lechon differently, all demonstrating mastery. Buck tasted them all. His expression was no longer arrogant. It was humble. It was learning. It was someone whose worldview was shifting in real time. After the fourth preparation, Buck put down his fork. "I need to be honest," he said to the camera, voice different now, quieter, more genuine. "I came here to prove Texas BBQ was superior. I thought Lechon was just roasted pig." He paused, looking at Mr. Roberto. "But this isn't just roasted pig. This is a craft. This is an art form taking generations to master. The technique, understanding meat, how fat renders, how skin gets that texture. This is excellence, real excellence." Buck looked at Maria. "I was wrong. I was arrogant. I thought American BBQ was the only real barbecue. But barbecue isn't one thing. It's cultural mastery, taking an ingredient and perfecting it in your own way." Maria nodded silently. She didn't need to say anything. Buck turned to Mr. Roberto and, through a translation app, tried communicating his respect. The elderly vendor nodded and smiled. He already knew. As the sun set, painting the sky orange and pink, Buck sat quietly at the Lechon stand. His camera crew had stopped filming. His phone was silent. For the first time in years, Buck wasn't thinking about content. He wasn't thinking about proving anything. He was just thinking about what he'd learned. That evening, back at his hotel, Buck sat alone in his room. His phone lit up. His followers asked where his Lechon video was. Where was the dismissal? Where was the victory? He opened his notes app and started typing. Not a script, just his thoughts. "I made a mistake. I judged something I didn't understand. I was arrogant enough to think excellence only existed in my world." He stopped and looked at his camera. He could post the video. He could edit it to make himself look good. He could still make content out of this. But something had changed. He couldn't do it. He couldn't disrespect Mr. Roberto. He couldn't dismiss Maria's culture. He couldn't lie to his followers. Buck did something he'd never done before. He stayed silent. 3 days passed. Buck's followers grew increasingly frustrated. Where was the video? Where was the content? His Instagram was silent. His YouTube channel was empty. The man who posted multiple times daily had disappeared. Then, on the 4th day, Buck posted something. But it wasn't what anyone expected. It was a video. Not edited, not polished. Just Buck, sitting in front of a camera in his hotel room, speaking directly and honestly. "I need to apologize," he began. "I came to the Philippines with arrogance. I came here to prove something I didn't understand was inferior. I was wrong." He talked about Mr. Roberto. He talked about the generations of mastery. He talked about how he'd spent 20 years perfecting one approach to barbecue, while this man had spent 70 years perfecting another. He talked about how both could be excellence. "I called Lechon peasant food," Buck said, his voice steady but emotional. "That was ignorant. That was disrespectful. Mr. Roberto didn't create Lechon to impress people like me. He created it to feed his community with love and mastery. That's real excellence. The video went viral, but not the way Buck expected. Instead of people mocking him for backing down, people respected him for his honesty. Comments flooded in from people saying they'd learned something about humility. Filipino viewers flooded the comments with pride and respect for both Buck and Mr. Roberto. The most impactful comment came from a food critic. "This is the most important food video I've ever seen, not because of the food, because of the character." Buck received an email from a major streaming network offering him a show, not about proving which barbecue was best, a show about culinary respect, about traveling the world, learning from masters, and elaborating different approaches to food. But before he accepted anything, Buck went back to Cebu. He walked to Mr. Roberto's Lechon stand with Maria. Mr. Roberto was preparing for the evening rush, his weathered hands moving with the same precision they always had. When Mr. Roberto saw Buck, he smiled. Not a smile of victory, a smile of welcome. Buck and Mr. Roberto talked for hours. Through Maria's translation, Buck asked if Mr. Roberto would consider a partnership. Not a business deal where Mr. Roberto's Lechon became Buck's Lechon, but a true partnership where they'd bring Lechon to America the right way, with respect, with proper attribution, with Mr. Robert being celebrated as the master he was. Mr. Roberto's eyes glistened. His daughter, who had been learning the craft since childhood, would get to help expand their family recipe internationally. His grandson, who had been considering leaving the Lechon business for easier work, suddenly saw a future in the family trade. The partnership launched 3 months later. Not a franchise. A celebration of authenticity. Mr. Roberto's Lechon sold in select American cities, with his name prominently featured. Every package told his story. Every sale supported his family and his craft. Buck became an advocate for Filipino cuisine instead of a dismisser of it. He used his platform to elevate voices that had been overlooked. He became better. He became more humble. He became more human. 1 year later, Buck and Mr. Roberto stood together at a restaurant opening in Austin, not replacing Texas barbecue, existing alongside it. 2 different masters, 2 different crafts, mutual respect. Buck looked at Mr. Roberto and smiled. "Thank you for not letting me stay arrogant." Mr. Roberto, through translation, replied, "Thank you for being brave enough to change." As the evening sun set over Austin, both men knew something important had happened. It wasn't about barbecue. It was about how one moment of genuine humility could transform everything. Buck never posted another dismissive video again. His followers grew even larger, not because he was proving things wrong, but because he was learning from the world with genuine respect. His accent hadn't changed, but everyone was finally listening. Wait, wrong story. But the lesson was the same. He had arrived with arrogance. He left with respect, and that made all the difference.